Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us on this special edition of Citizen Live at 1. I'm Janet Mbogo, and I say special because it's already 1:30. Of course, we've heard from the cabinet secretaries briefing the press on their achievements over the last 1 year. We'll be crossing over to Esther Kahumbi shortly, who will be giving us an update on what's been said. In our top story, though, calm has returned in Mombasa County after last evening's shooting of the controversial radical preacher Abubakar Sharif, alias Makaburi. Kisauni OCPD Richard Ngatias has said that the killing is under investigation. And as Liz Anyango reports, Makaburi, who was gunned down last evening with his close associate Hafidh Bahero, was buried last night by his followers in Mombasa County, where his comrade Sheikh Abu Drogo was laid to rest.
Relative calm has returned in Mombasa County following the night of tension after the gunning down of the controversial cleric by unknown assailants. Angry Muslim youths blocked the Malindi-Mombasa road last evening to protest after the controversial Muslim cleric Sheikh Abubakar Sharif, better known as Makaburi, was shot dead outside Shanzu Court.
Wewe ni Muislamu wewe? Muislamu. Sawa. Unamkafiri? Sawa. Wote ni Waislamu. Wewe Muislamu. Wewe ni kafiri kama wao.
The radical Muslim preacher has been facing 3 terror charges in Nairobi, but before his death, the cases were taken to court but were not heard. The radical Muslim preacher has been facing 3 terror charges in Nairobi, but before his death, the cases were taken to court but were not heard. The death of Makaburi comes only 2 years after another preacher, Abu Drogo, was shot dead a few kilometers from the scene of last evening's incident. Kisauni OCPD Richard Ngatia said no suspect has been arrested so far over the killing of the cleric.
Tuenda hivi, sasa kusikia pana kila moja amelala. Hatukuona nani wala hatukuona zimetoka kwa upande huu wa barabara, lakini hatujui nani wala hatukuona hiyo gari wala.
That one is Abubakar, alias Makaburi. We don't know who shot them or why.
Makaburi was buried last night in Mombasa County, where his comrade Sheikh Abu Drogo was laid to rest 2 years ago. This comes even as the Inspector General David Kimayo reiterated that the government was not going to spare anyone or institution preaching and encouraging radicalization in the country. Liz Anyango, live at 1.
Our reporter Francis Kashuri is in Mombasa. We'll be joining him shortly to give us full updates on the situation on the ground as of now. President Uhuru Kenyatta has arrived in Brussels, Belgium for the 4th EU-Africa Summit, which will discuss trade, peace and security. President Kenyatta, who joins other African heads of state and government in advancing the African agenda at the summit, will present the Kenyan position on global issues and also represent the East African community in his capacity as the chair of the EAC. According to the summit's program, African leaders will be pushing to bridge the existing trade imbalance that is currently heavily in favor of the European Union member states. The leaders will also be seeking to level the playing field and transform the relationship between donor nations and recipients into one of partnership rooted in equality. The summit will also discuss ways of creating incentives for investment and stimulating growth that would create jobs, in particular for young people. Security as an important as well in economic growth will also feature prominently at the summit that will see President Kenyatta highlighting issues on regional security, especially recent events in Somalia, South Sudan, Central African Republic, Egypt, Madagascar and Mali.
God bless you.
Now, just moments ago, we heard from the 3rd cluster of the cabinet secretaries who've been outlining their achievements over the last 1 year. Let's listen in on some of the highlights.
For you to make a presentation on the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government. As we are aware, Kenyans are concerned about their security, and rightly so, because of a number of happenings that, in one way or the other, has taken lives and even hurt businesses of Kenyans. On the internal front, this insecurity has been driven by resource-based conflicts, organized crimes, and other general criminal activities. On the international front, terrorism, radicalization, poaching have become a major contributor to insecurity. I want to assure Kenyans that the government has in place clear directions, clear plans to address the prevailing insecurity and guarantee a stable environment for the prosperity of this country.
And Esther Kahumbi now joins us live to give us a recap on what the other cabinet secretaries said earlier on. Esther.
Testing mic, checking. Esther.
Esther?
Office of the President, where the third cluster of cabinet secretaries has just concluded their briefing, giving a detailed account of what they've been able to accomplish the last 1 year, and of course what they intend to do. We had the Solicitor General, that is John Muturi, Foreign Affairs Minister, PS Karanja Kibicho, National Treasury Henry Rotich, Defense we had Rachel Omamo, and of course what has drawn most interest, what do you say? Of course, of great interest.
Sure, that makes it to the bloopers at the end of this year. Unfortunately, Esther Kahumbi, our reporter, wasn't aware that we were live on air. We apologize for that. We will go back to her as soon as she's ready to give us an update. Now, Matatu operators and owners have camped at motor vehicle inspection units countrywide as they seek to comply with new safety regulations 2 days after the deadline for the same lapsed. Many commuters in Nairobi, Mombasa and other urban areas were forced to trek long distances as operators kept their matatus and buses.
Day 2 and the transport crisis countrywide continues to leave many commuters stranded. The new rules, which thousands of PSV operators have not complied with, are pushing many of them out of the roads, in turn paralyzing transport across the country.
Kutoka Magongo mpaka hapa ni shilingi 40. Kama imezidi sana ni 40 ama 50 asubuhi. Sema 50. Sasa imekuwa double kwa sababu nimekuja na gari kutoka Magongo mpaka huku unalipishwa 250.
Sasa ndio kwa ni lori tu. Na gari ni moja.
There are still queues of PSV vehicles at motor vehicle inspection units countrywide seeking to comply with the new law as the crackdown to impound and roadworthy vehicles now intensifies.
Sasa tumeenda hasara sana. Na unajua magari zinanunua over 2.5 million kwa gari moja. Na iko wafanyakazi. Na iko loan. Tunalipa loan.
Since the inspection exercise began, just over 10,000 vehicles are reported to have been inspected. Over 100,000 others are yet to be inspected. Salim Bilu, Citizen Live at 1.
Dadaab Member of Parliament Dr. Mohamed Dahir is now asking the government to reconsider its decision requiring refugees who are out of refugee camps to immediately return to camps. The MP maintains that there are laws that govern how refugees are to be treated in the country and which should be adhered to, including the use of alien cards. Benjamin Muriuki has the details.
Speaking after disbursing 50 million shilling CDF bursary checks to beneficiaries at Dadaab, Dr. Mohamed Dahir termed as wrong the decision to have the refugees in the urban centers return to the refugee camps, saying it was not a viable solution to insecurity.
Relocating the 500,000 refugees who are living in urban centers in this country, I don't think it is a viable thing. And I was just saying that doing that is also equivalent to like taking these people by force to Somalia.
Dr. Dahie has further faulted a recommendation in the Westgate report that refugee camps be closed down, saying there is no refugee implicated in the Westgate report.
The Westgate issue, one of the key recommendations is the closure of the camps. Yet in that report entirely, there is nowhere the refugees are implicated.
The decision issued by the Interior Cabinet Secretary Joseph Olelenku to have refugees return to the refugee camps come amid ongoing security sweeps in response to emerging security challenges in the urban centers. Benjamin Muriuki for Citizen Live at 1.
The chair of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, Sarah Serem, says the commission will host a national conference to help it source views for the development of a national wage policy. She said any such document must reflect the wishes of Kenyans. Speaking after receiving views from members of the public in Wajir County, Serem said the commission was keen to incorporate the views of Kenyans in its final policy document. Residents who spoke to the commission lamented about the rising wage bill in the country, with some complaining that Kenyans should have seen the current wage crisis coming as the new constitution created many unnecessary posts. Other speakers at the forum complained that the wage cut taken by President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto was largely symbolic and would not result in significant savings.
We want to hear them, we want to dialogue with them, we want to reason with them. We have been here for the last, I think, 3-4 hours, basically listening to the people of Wajir County. And we have gotten a lot of feedback, extremely very useful information that we would not have gotten as SRC if we just simply sat on our commission rooms, you know, to imagine or to perceive what the people would want to have. So we will gather all this information, and at the end of the day, as I mentioned to the people of Wajir County, that we will have a national conference where we will bring what we have drawn from the counties, what we have heard from the people. We promise to do that. We will have the conference, and we will together dialogue with the various stakeholders and the leaders of this country, and that will help us to develop a wage bill policy.
Wakati watu walikuwa wanaenda referendum, mimi nilikuwa mtu ya no. Na manake nilikuwa no kwa sababu nilikuwa najua Kenya ilikuwa ni nchi ya dunia tatu. Hana nguvu ya kustahimili hii, yani wafanyakazi wengi na mambo kama mengi kama hii. Kwa hivyo leo hii ile kitu tulikuwa tunaona 210 watu wanaona leo. Kwa hivyo mimi ningesema hakuna mtu atakata nchi moja katika katiba hii. Manake Wakenya wengi ndio wametushinda na wakakubali hiyo referendum. Kwa hivyo tena inabidi iende referendum.
Do members of parliamentary committees engage in corrupt dealings to influence the outcome of certain probes? This question elicited heated debate when the Citizen TV morning show Cheche hosted the leader of majority in the National Assembly, Adan Duale, and the deputy minority leader, Jakoyo Midiwo. The focus was on the Transport Committee and its probe into the standard gauge railway project tender, particularly against the background of its trip to China.
Is that there is corruption. And it's creeping back, and that's what I said 2 weeks ago on the floor of the House.
Creeping back? Did it ever
I think
go?
in a much bigger way, and reincarnated in younger people, and that is a shameful thing. I can tell you, as somebody who has been in Parliament for over 10 years, that it was never like that. You know,
how does it manifest itself?
It manifests itself in the so-called committees, for example. When you see one chair being aggressive to investigate alone, like the majority leader has said, that when the issues are cross-cutting, you need to put together the concerned committees. But what seems to be coming up, and that is what the Speaker was trying to clarify, is that you have members of Parliament who are in committees reading an article in the paper and summoning the minister. You know, they do it in such a hurry that if you see it, you see that there is something beyond that summon.
They are doing like ambulance chasing.
Exactly. Actually, rent seeking.
I can confirm. I mean,
in this particular one,
as you have said it.
Yes.
I mean, I stand for facts and figures.
Yes.
that the trip they made to China before even the standard gauge railway controversy came had nothing to do with that cooperation.
So what was it about? If you know that it wasn't about the standard gauge railway.
I'm telling you from now the data.
They have come and said.
I can't be having coffee here and you say that's not coffee. No. You can't tell me whether it's tea or what it is.
David,
haven't they said they went and found out that the China bridge can do?
The mere impression that I am investigating you and I'm having dinner with you, what is the open eye supposed to think?
We now cross over live once again to Esther Kahumbi to give us a recap on what the third cluster of the cabinet secretaries had to say earlier today. Esther?
Thank you, Janet, and of course we do apologize for that earlier hitch, but we're coming to you live from Harambee House, where the third cluster of ministers have just concluded their brief to the media of what they have been able to accomplish the last 1 year, and of course what they intend to do. We had CSs from Health, Treasury, we had CS from Defense, and of course Solicitor General. But of interest is the Interior Minister, Olelenku, who of course had to answer questions regarding the increased spate of insecurity in the country, coming just days after the attack in Likoni and the one in Isili, and of course last night killing of Makaburi in Mombasa. The minister outlined issues that he has been able to accomplish during this 1 year that he has been in office, and of course most of it dwelling on what they intend to do, which he is calling a police modernization program, which includes additional police officers to help man our towns, for example Nairobi and Mombasa, which we have seen have been under great attack. 7,000 police officers will be graduating from Kiganjo on Friday, and those are the police officers who will be deployed to these counties, Nairobi and Mombasa. But of course of interest was the issue of intelligence, because we have been seeing these attacks, police insisting that they are communicating or they are in great coordination with the NIS insisting that they give information to the police. But we see these attacks happening, and say for the attack in Changamwe, we haven't seen these attacks being prevented. The CS was a bit cagey on that, insisting that his ministry has been coordinating with the NIS, and the police do not ignore this intelligence reports that they receive from the NIS. So we wonder where the disconnect is, because the police, the public of course feels jittery. You don't know when next they will be attacked. The Defense Minister Rachel Omamo also dwelt on the issue of Somalia and not giving a clear date of when they were going to exit Somalia. But those are just some of the issues that have been discussed here. Tomorrow we expect another cluster of ministers, I think the final one, and of course we'll be covering this for our viewers. Janet.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Esther Kahumbi, coming to us live from Harambee House, giving us that recap from earlier on in the day. Let's return to our top story that we've been following for you. And Mombasa remains calm a day after controversial and radical preacher Sheikh Abubakar Sharif, also known as Makaburi, was gunned down by unknown assailants. Makaburi was buried last night. Armed police officers have stepped up patrol in the coastal town. We're now joined live on phone by our senior reporter Francis Kashuri for an update on the situation there. Kashuri, good afternoon. How has the day panned out in Mombasa, given earlier fears of possible riots following the killing of Makaburi?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to Janet. Indeed, Mombasa County remains calm even after the killing of Sheikh Sharif, or popularly known as Makaburi, and a series of news conferences by various stakeholders. But situation remains calm here, Janet. I've been able to patrol around the area. We've been to Majengo area and around the town, and basically the situation remains calm. Not even what you'd call unusual heavy police presence, nothing of the sort. Just normal situation, people going about their businesses, despite last night's situation at the Shandu area. However, the 6 people who were killed in Likoni, at the Likoni church gun incident, their bodies have been removed from the Coast General Hospital mortuary and transported to the various destinations upcountry for burial. And during that function, County Commissioner Mombasa County, Nelson Marwa, insisting that Makaburi's death, they are treating it as a criminal activity because the people who killed him remain unknown and their motive remains also unknown. So he's saying the government is treating Makaburi's death last night as a criminal situation and that the investigations have been launched into the killings. However, Janet, a number of civil society organizations have held news conferences today and they're asking the government to come clean on Makaburi's death. In fact, Haki Africa, through its director, Khalid Hussein, they're saying they're giving the government 3 days to come clean on Makaburi's death, and they're saying if the government will not have clearly explained what caused his death or who were behind his death, then they're going to organize major demonstrations in town on Friday. And so that's the situation. However, Janet, Nelson Marwa, the county commissioner, is insisting that nobody will be allowed to use Makaburi's death to cause chaos and upheaval in Mombasa County and its environs. And they're saying, he's saying that the government is not going to tolerate any incidences of radicalization or anybody trying to instill what we call irregular teaching to the Muslim youth or any other youth in Mombasa County, Janet. So the situation remains calm. We are still patrolling around to see what's happening, but basically, Janet, I can confidently say that the situation in Mombasa remains calm, no incidences so far, apart from what happened in Shanzu yesterday involving the death of Sharif, aka Makaburi, and one of his close aides.
All right, thank you so much for that update. Francis Kashuri coming to us live from Mombasa, telling us the situation remains calm, but there's heavy security presence there. We're yet to hear from officials on the matter. An official word from the police. Will wait on that information later on. Now, a family from Subukia in Nakuru County can finally make funeral arrangements for their 3 children who drowned in a dam on Sunday, bringing to an end days of anxiety over the missing remains of one of them. This is after the last of their bodies of their children was found floating hours after retrieval efforts had been called off, as Diana Kariuki now reports.
The helplessness of the situation that left Symbion villagers in Lower Subukia using the rudimentary means they could afford to retrieve the last of the bodies of 3 children who had drowned. The 3 siblings, Janet Cherotich, age 16, Winnie Chepngetich, 14, and Brian Kiprop, 7, drowned as they did their laundry by the side of Baharini Dam on Sunday. Local divers from the village managed to retrieve the bodies of the 2 girls the same day. One thing kept the grieving family from laying their children to rest. Brian's body had not been found. The divers did not have adequate equipment to safely cover the 5-acre-wide and over 10-feet deep dam, and the search was called off yesterday, leaving the family in a desperate situation.
Jana yote tumeshinda hapa na wananchi tukifanya kazi wakiogelea nini tukikoroga na mamiti ingawa hatukufanikiwa.
Citizen TV, however, learned that the body eventually floated in the night and was retrieved early morning today, finally putting an end to the anguish family and friends of the deceased have been subjected to. And now, funeral arrangements can be made. And the village, still shaken by the incident, prays that action will be taken to prevent a repeat of the tragedy.
Ni ombi langu kwamba kama kunaweza patikana any donor or even the government can assist to fence the area, kwa sababu bali na hii mkazo imetupea, the lake is also assisting the locals of this area.
Diana Kariuki, Citizen Live at 1.
Farmers in Nyandarua County are set to benefit from a series of training forums in the region aimed at helping them increase their agricultural productivity levels. The training forums are being carried out with the support of the Nyandarua County government, as Yvette Momanyi reports.
Nyandarua County is one of the leading food-producing regions in the country, and the county government has moved to improve agricultural production there. According to the county executive member in charge of agriculture, Agatha Thuo, the county administration has prioritized what is most important in Nyandarua County to help steer meaningful development.
And agriculture is actually the backbone of the economy of this county. And this particular field day is intended to bring farmers closer to the service providers, that is the public and the private extension service providers.
Speaking at a farmers' field day held at Kangui Trading Center in Old Joro Orok constituency, Ms. Thuo noted that dairy farming has also been identified as one of the areas in need of special intervention.
And our cows in Nyandarua County are producing between an average production of between 7 and 8 liters per cow per day, which is far much less than what their potential is, because we have good great animals. We have had the AI services provided in this county for a very long time.
The county executive encouraged farmers in the area to take advantage of the resources they have, among them adequate land to increase fodder and the good climate, among others. Yvette Mumanyi, live at 1.
And in Nyeri, over 300 elderly people were treated to a free medical camp organized by Purity Care Foundation, an NGO. Here are those details.
More often than not, senior citizens feel neglected by the rest of society. But here, they were singing and dancing with family and friends to music. It was a good day for the senior citizens in Nyeri County, who were also offered donations such as walking sticks and shoes.
They cannot even afford to pay the bills. The 2,000 cash transfer that the government is actually offering the elderly, which we appreciate, it's actually not enough to actually cater for their meals and also cater for their drugs.
Health officials expressed that most aged persons do not go for checkups, therefore diseases that affect them are not detected early enough. A caution that, according to officials, many need to take heed of. Wamaitha Shiru, Citizen, live at 1.
You're watching Citizen Live at 1. We're back after this short break.